My second message from Jerusalem. Again, as I mentioned last week, there's just certain images in your mind that you only see in Israel. Last week I spoke about this beautiful dichotomy that exists here, the old and the new, the fusing of modernity with ancient sensibilities. The example I gave, again, was the Apple logo next to a chamsa on an espresso machine way up in the north near Tiberias. And just now I was driving back from the airport. I picked up my other daughter, and on the road going into Bet Shemesh, there was a protest. Tel Aviv was closed yesterday and the day before because of the protests of what Netanyahu's government is trying to do with the judiciary, without getting into that whole topic. But what was the protest here? At least, I don't know about Tel Aviv, but here on the road, it was maybe a good 200 Israelis. Each one was carrying an Israeli flag and just walking along the side of the road. Some of them were singing Am Yisrael Chai. Some of them were just saying, just on the side of the road, just waving their flag, drinking water. And it just struck me, and I took a picture of it, which I'll show you in a second. And that's the other thing, the dichotomy of the old and the new, but the dichotomy as well in interpersonal relationships that is so stark in this country. Forget about religious and secular. Just the various opinions, the diverse range, the wildly diverse range that exists in such a small country the size of New Jersey with so many different types of Jews. It reminded me of the teaching of Rabbi Steinsaltz in his seminal book called We Jews. Rabbi Steinsaltz tries to identify the nature of the Jewish people, and he goes through, are we a nation, are we a race, are we a creed, are we a religion, and he knocks all of those options off the table for various very sound reasons, and he concludes this small little book called We Jews. I really recommend it. He concludes that what are the Jewish people? We're a family. Very beautiful, poignant, simple message. We are a family. And every family has their scholars, their college dropouts, their black sheep, their goody two-shoes, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, we are all family. We are all linked by our bloodline back to Abraham. This is why we saw beautiful stories emerging when the protests were really at their height maybe a few months ago. The Jews of Bnei Brak, people protested to Bnei Brak, a stronghold of religious Jews, and the people of Bnei Brak laid out tables upon tables of refreshments, of cold drinks, and said, listen, you can disagree, but we're brothers and sisters. Here's a cold drink. And there was a beautiful video that went out, I think I spoke about it a while ago, of clearly a Tel Aviv resident with tattoos and earrings, certainly not a resident of Bnei Brak, said, we went with hate. Ichnasnu b'sina v'yatzanu be'ahava. We entered with hate, but I left with love. This is really the core of the country here. We may have disagreements and many, many pluralistic views, but I do believe, and I see it here more than any other place on earth, the inner bond, the inner cord that runs through all of the Jewish people, this heart, this beating heart that pulsates with love for each other, and at the end of the day, we will do anything we can for each other, even if we disagree and even if we protest on the side of the highway against the other. Shabbat Shalom from the Holy Land.